So, welcome to the AMATIC 2019 webinar series, and today's presentation is Accessible Course Shells for OER and Other Text, all ready to adapt with Barbara Iwalski. And please note that the views expressed by the presenter are not necessarily the views of AMATIC, and any commercial products mentioned by presenters are not endorsed by AMATIC. And McGraw-Hill Higher Education is proud to support the 2019 AMATIC webinar series. And now we are going to switch to the presenter slides. So as Barbara brings her slides up, I am going to actually make sure that I say a bit about Barbara here. So Barbara is a mathematics and statistics professor of De Anza College in California. She is a past president of CMC Cube California Mathematics Council of Community Colleges and has served on several AMATIC committees. Barbara is co-author of Introductory Statistics and Introductory Business Statistics, free and open textbooks published by OpenStax. So let's welcome Barbara in the chat room if you haven't already, and let me turn it over to you, Barbara.
Thanks, and I really appreciate all the support, John, that you've given me in practicing and setting it up and getting the webinar series working on them, because I think they're important for math faculty as educators, for us to have professional development that we can have aside from what's in our department. Some of us have very small departments and some of us have large ones. I am going to just let you know that as a presenter, it's sometimes hard to see the chat, but I do have it open, and I will be following it along in here. So I just want to give you a little bit of background. I teach in California. People assume that, oh, Silicon Valley must be a very wealthy area. And it's true, it's a wealthy area for those that are wealthy. But here are my students in here, and you'll see that they're probably not so different from your students. I look at the community college students who I serve, and many of you may have the same sort of breakdown. And what I want to let you know is that even though I may be in an area that's considered a wealthy area, that's typically for the students who have high-level degrees from high-level universities and come out and get lots of funding. But for the majority of the students who we have in our community college student, they have the characteristics of the students right here. How I got involved in OER was I had my students in my classes, and I saw that a lot of students maybe didn't have the book, or they had the book some days or not other days. And I, started talking with my students. This is my 30th year at De Anza. Unfortunately, it is my last year at De Anza. We've been offered a golden handshake sort of shoo, oh, people go away. And it was a nice one, so I took it, but I'm going to be not stopping out of the academic world. I just won't be teaching or at my district anymore. After this, I'll be working on OER advocacy and mathematics education. But I started to think about what could I do in my class to help my students. I could not affect tuition. I could not affect their housing situations. If they had a child who was sick and was getting better, I was okay having them bring the child to the class, but I couldn't affect daycare, their food, and so on. But what I could do is I could make sure that once everyone came into my class, they had all the materials that they needed from day one. And I hadn't really thought about it much until I had students saying, well, financial aid doesn't come in till the end of week 2 for me to get my books. And I realized 12-week quarter, that's really hard when you don't, in math, have a textbook till the 3rd week. And also, it was very clear that it was almost if I waited to the haves and the have-nots as to who could get the materials. And I started thinking how this was really a social justice issue. It was essential that if I really believe in student success, And I really believe that I want all my students in the community college to be able to succeed, and that I need to do whatever I can to help these students. And making sure that they all had access to the material was just the first way to go onto it. And it's made a real big difference in my students. So we have a poll here. The first poll John's going to put up. I'm excited. And just to click your experience with open ed resources. And we really want to know, for example, if you're not really sure what they are, that you click that, but that we have an idea of who I'm speaking with, so I can adjust my commentary as I go on, just so you know. So what you do is you do the poll, and I will just do it too as a presenter, and I press using OER and promoting it, and I do submit, and at that some point, John's going to show us the results. I don't know, John, are you ready to show us the results? You need to unmute if you're going to talk. John, could we have the results of the, oh, here we are. Okay, great. So this is really typical of when I'm presenting at conferences, that at this point, if people have signed up to go to an OER conference, or they've signed up to be in an OER webinar, they've at least know what the acronym stands for. And the majority of people are not using any sort of OER. So for the 30%, I feel good I can add 12 and 18, wouldn't want to mess that up in a math talk. For the 30% who are using an open textbook, if you can just in the chat room, just go through and just list what you're using, and you can do abbreviations as much as you can. If it's OpenStax, you can put the course and just put OS, we get that. And let's see what's coming up that people are using. If it's your own, you can put self and put the subject. Okay. OpenStax, oh, that's a really good one, Ryan. I like that book, the OpenStax stats book. Pre-Calc, terrific. Algebra from OpenStax. We have a few more. Okay, we'll keep going on. Okay, terrific. So this is doing great. We have some from David Littman, some from OpenStax, and some other ones. For those of you who aren't quite sure of, thank you, by the way, for participating, who aren't quite sure of the definition of OER, I have it here, and because Hewlett Foundation really was one of the very first and is among the most generous foundations supporting open education resources, they have created the name, and the Department of Education has just tweaked it a little bit, but here's the definition that I use. Creative Commons is a type of licensing, and John is going to be sharing the PowerPoint slides after this on the website, and I'm pretty sure that this is going to be recorded and posted. And I do have links in the presentation so that you can go back and find. So what I really want to do is give you an overall, and then you can go back and choose the links. I happen to use the link that's the license that's the second from the top, Creative Commons Attribution, nicknamed CC BY. It allows the most free sharing. I'm not worried about commercial products such as Lumen Learning or WebAssign or Apple being able to use the product, because it leads to more innovation. And so that's really valuable. Public domain would be something, for example, now the song Happy Birthday is in public domain. It used to be if you went to a restaurant, they couldn't sing it to you because you, it was copyrighted and they would have to pay a royalty. All of us who were raised at home were very lucky we didn't have the FBI knocking on our door to try because of the copyright violation, but it is now in the public domain. And what we find is the bottom two are not free. I mean, are not open, but they're free. You can use them, but the very bottom one, you can't make any derivatives, meaning you have to use it exactly how it is and not for commercial purposes. And the second to bottom one, you can't make any derivatives. I find that people like to make derivatives, and a common one is changing out chapters, combining various resources for to develop what's needed for your class, or tweaking the text. I want to give you just a little bit of a difference between ebooks and open books, and I will tell you that although I am extremely appreciative of the services that commercial publishers have online, sometimes when they have ebooks, and most of the ones that I've seen are very expensive. The students pay a certain fee and they don't have to buy the print book. There's a restriction on devices, a restriction on downloading. Sometimes you only have access during your course and you don't have access after. I will tell you that my son actually now, who has a bachelor's in engineering, a master's in engineering, and a master's in test pilot engineering. He's a test pilot for the US Air Force. Now at age 32, just came back and he said, "Mom, I'm finally using calculus for something more than my next course." He always was using calculus for differential equations, and then for linear algebra, and then for engineering, but he's now using calculus in the work that he's doing. And so he has actually gone online to some of the OER calculus for review on what they have. All right, here are some examples that I've put up, and what I'll be talking about today is mostly open textbooks, because the reason is that I really want, or I'm anxious for faculty to switch to open textbooks, because that's where students stop paying and they start to, it makes a difference in their lives. If you ask students, what would you do with $150 or $200 if you weren't buying a textbook? Most of them are not saying, "Oh, I'd get jewelry, I'll go skiing, I'll go to Hawaii." What they're saying more is, "I'll pay my rent, I'll pay down my charge card, I'll buy some food, I'll get my child something," and so on. But here are some examples. The algebra and pre-algebra books are actually written by Amatic members, and Lynn Marisak and Marianne Anthony from Santa Ana College, and those are published by OpenStax. James Souza, I think, is the king of YouTube videos for mathematics. Math is Power for You is his channel on YouTube. And when he first made them, they weren't closed captioned. And so the state of California had a grant to caption videos. So we captioned them for him that were being used. And now he creates everything with captions. And these videos are so well organized and what I consider among the highest quality. Khan Academy has lessons, and it has a different type of video, solving homework, but it also has lesson plans. And one that is rather new, but has been around a while, is My Open Math. And this is by David Lippman, who's also an Amatic member from Pierce College. And this is a homework system. So when I first wrote my online, my textbook, Introductory Statistics, WebAssign took it and made the first homework system for an open textbook. There was nothing else, and we kept the cost low. It was about $27. There was nothing else. Now, David has created My Open Math, and on top of it, last year I had my accessibility specialist, I was running a large program, review it. There were only, I think, 5 very minor problems, and the accessibility problems have been fixed. So I'm really pleased with that. And it's a great program, and it's free. So now, the other part I want to let you know is that California gave a grant to Lake Tahoe Community College, and Larry Green there worked with faculty across the California Community College to align all the My Open Math homeworks to all of the OpenStax math textbooks. So now all the math textbooks from OpenStax have the My Open Math homework questions lined up, and he also did linear algebra and differential equations, and I've forgotten what books he's used for those. This is the textbook that I co-authored. I do not consider this a commercial session because I have no royalties. So I will tell you that I don't get any royalties from OpenStax, and I'm not being paid to do this webinar, but I just use this as an example because at my college, De Anza College, just through the use of just the introductory statistics book, we've saved students over $3 million in purchasing textbooks, and that's a big number. It's one of those parts when people want to have a phrase or something. I like to see this, over $3 million just at one college, and then nationwide it's been a lot more. I was just told by the OpenStax people at Rice University that it's now either the third or the fourth most commonly used introductory statistics book for the algebra-based statistics book. And that's from a community college teacher, and it's a free book for all the students. One of the reasons I like using OER, or 4 of the reasons, are right here.
So, Barbara, there was a question in the chat. I don't know.
Oh, yes, I see. Will the California alignment to OpenStax? Yes, it is. And I will be, there is a way, if you go into My Open Math, thank you, John, for this. I had the chat open and missed it. If you go into My Open Math and you create an account, which the account is free also, you need to have an EDU email address. So far as I know, David won't allow an account if you're doing it from your Gmail or so on. But if you go into that and you create an account, you can see the courses that are aligned and available. And it'll say, whatever, OpenStax Introductory Algebra. And then you can look and see all the homework that's aligned with that and adopt it right then and there, and then change it out the way you want to do it. So it's really valuable. One of the things that I love about the OER is that, to me, it gives faculty more academic freedom and more choice because of the fact that that you can search and you can embed what you want. I personally know that if I were teaching statistics right now, I would be taking out so much of what I wrote in there and substituting it with what's happening in the Gallup polls now, what's happening in the elections. Why do we have the 2018 midterm elections changed by the results of the 2016? It's a political science issue, but it's also a statistics issue based on how the polls really did not accurately capture how this 2016 presidential election resulted. And I would be doing that and doing the adaptions. I also want to talk about the ancillaries, because in the past there were very few ancillaries for the open textbooks. Now I know OpenStax has PowerPoints and homework systems on their site. OER Commons, which the URL I'm going to give you in a little bit, but it's easy. It's oercommons.org. That has so many. It's one of the largest repositories in the world for ancillary materials. And you can go on, and I've found tremendous ancillaries, labs to use, projects, PowerPoints. Well, I don't use PowerPoints, but all sorts of things that are in there. Okay, here's the problem though. It's hard to find. Yes.
Oh, so talking about finding things, Barbara, there was one question in the chat about finding a pre-calc book.
Right, so I'm assuming that's to everybody. I don't usually teach pre-calc, so if anybody has, and I haven't reviewed the pre-calc books. So I know OpenStax has some. I know David Lippman has some pre-calc books. I know that you can find some in OER Commons. There's one by Dietz, and I forgot his partner's name, out of Ohio. So for anybody who can answer that question, I would love it, as you're doing this, if you could answer the questions too. So here's the challenge. It's hard to find. I want to let you know that as I've been on this journey of openness, I've also found out places where I violated copyright before in the past. I'm not sure how many of you ever have gone to a conference, let's say a MATIC or some other conference, and somebody passes out something from a publisher or somewhere else that's a great lab to do in class, or a homework problem, and you go back, and at the very bottom of it, it says copyright, all rights reserved. And to make copies for your class, you just snip this off, that copyright, all right reserved, and then you put it on the copier and you make copies for your class. I certainly was guilty of that. And in fact, when we were updating the OER statistics book, many people said, oh, I have great problems. You want to include them? Well, as we were getting them, we had to be very careful, because sometimes the great problems people forgot where they got from, and I was not going to be violating copyright to take a publisher's content. We had to be very careful. So what you'll see is, even though I could have taken hay and putting a needle in it and created my own image of a needle in a haystack, I actually looked it up. And I appreciate Stacy validating that I'm not the only one here. And I looked it up, and what you'll see is there is the URL, which I got that photo from. And it has a Creative Commons attributions license, meaning that's all I have to do is show you where I got it from. I could use it for free. So I'm going to talk about this project now. And before we do, there's another poll that's coming out. And I don't, well, first off, two things. I want to answer Stacy, but as I'm doing it, I'd like everybody to answer the poll about what LMS your college uses, if you use one, and that will help. And it doesn't mean that you're necessarily teaching online. I have a course shell for my regular face-to-face classes also, not just for my online classes. So the copywriting a problem, I am not actually sure, and it depends upon the level of the problem. I think if your problem was two trains are heading towards each other at so-and-so miles per hour, when do they meet or when do they crash? I think those problems have been around long enough that they're not necessarily copyrighted, but I'm not a lawyer. The same thing of sticking your hands in a pocket and counting the change. But I don't know about it. I know images can be copyrighted. Your data, you can't take somebody else's data without permission, and I'm not exactly sure. For me, just to be safe, I don't take any publisher's homework problem. I make sure that all the problems are original there. All right, so we see that we're pretty much split between Blackboard and D2L, and then Canvas is a half as much as the other two. And so that's where we're at. So I'm going to be showing you this project in Canvas because that's what California uses, but I really want you to know that everybody can get a free Canvas account, and you can open up any of the course shells and take anything you want to put it into your own D2L or your own Blackboard. The companies make it very, very difficult to export from them to go into another one. So for example, if you downloaded the Canvas Commons shell, it would not easily upload or at all into Blackboard, and it didn't used to upload into D2L, but you might be able to talk with the tech people and they might have a way of helping you there. This project came about because a librarian, and I will tell you, go back and support your librarians, bring them flowers and candy and coffee, because the librarians are really the main people supporting OER on a large-scale professional organization. And so a librarian, Antonia Lopez from Sacramento City College, and an instructional designer, Cyrus Health from West LA College, approached me to find out they wanted to make some cartridges for their faculty who were using them, who were teaching online. And the first one was using the OpenStax Psych project. So I was the Chief Academic Affairs Officer for the California Online Ed Initiative, which is just a fancy title for Vice President of Instruction, before I went back to faculty this year. And they said, this is what we want. Pretty much, we know you're good about blowing up projects and taking simple things and making them complex. And sometimes you have funding, so would you please help us? And to me, this was such a fun, fabulous project because it's helped so many students. So what we decided to do is make shells in Canvas that were effective online pedagogy, but are also effective for face-to-face teaching as well. And then to put the OpenStax textbooks inside. I want to tell you the reason we did the OpenStax. I did not get any kickback from it. We did it because at the time, we have articulation agreements with our Cal State system and our UC system. At the time, the Cal State system was the second largest user of OpenStax, so we knew our courses would transfer. We would not have articulation problems. Also, all of their textbooks were WCAG 2.0 AA compliant. So, and for other textbooks around, we didn't know what was compliant or not, and we would have to run an accessibility check, and I didn't have the faculty who were accessibility experts. I only had one on full-time. I didn't have several. So we started this as a model so that people can put other accessibility experts in. So we created, at the time it was 30, but now they've started a business line. So now it's 36 sample course shells. 35 of them are for the OpenStax textbooks. And one is what I call the empty shell. And I'm gonna especially show you the empty shell because that empty shell is one that is really, really useful for putting a different textbook in. And we're also gonna show you how you can adapt. And also why this is good for face-to-face classes, not online and necessarily, and not hybrid necessarily. And John, I don't know if this is putting you on the spot right now, and it doesn't have to be at this slide, but I was wondering if you're able to make a poll on the spot to ask people and check all that apply. Do you teach online, hybrid, face-to-face? And let people choose more than one answer. So it would be over 100%. If you can do that, that would be great. And if you can't do that, then it's totally my fault for not asking you this ahead of time. But as we go on, these shells are all located in Canvas Commons, and 11 of them are for math and statistics. Searching of them, the 36 shells will pop up if you do CCC, OER, OEI. But if you also, oh, thanks, Kyra. Kyra, librarian, you rock, you rule. If you also add math, then you'll get the 11 math and statistics ones. But our team was made up of 2 librarians, 2 instructional designers, a few faculty, OpenStax, who created the card covers and the banners and also now put these on their website, and the Online Ed Initiative, which was funding my position. Here's what we did. Oh, wow, this is great, thank you. So check all that apply. You can see John put in the, he put in the formats, and you can check more than one. I just did. So what we did is we got together with the instructional designers and we said, we would like a course shell. It had to be WCAG 2.0 AA compliant. That was it. But we also wanted to embed effective pedagogy in it. And we used a rubric that was designed by over 50 California Community College faculty. And these rubrics, I will just say, they're pretty similar. There are a lot of rubrics that are basically out there. So we're finding that just about everybody, 88% are teaching face-to-face. You can use these. I've used them for face-to-face. And we have about 2/3 teaching online, which is terrific. So we have a good number synchronous online, and it could be asynchronous. Both is terrific. So you have reasons, especially if you're teaching online, to be using a shell. And so we put in effective pedagogy. We also embedded accessibility training support, and we included ancillary materials that were ADA compliant. So several of the courses had PowerPoints that were ADA compliant. We embedded those. If they were not compliant, what we did was we pointed links as to where you could collect ancillaries and then assume that it was up to the college to support you in creating accessible materials if your college insists that you do that. All I'll say about that is it's federal law that you do that, but I am not the accessibility police. I just know that while I was running a statewide project, everything had to be accessible because we were modeling that. And we built in support for students as well, both through Instructure for Canvas, but also your college. Now, I also know that, and I won't do this survey, but around the country, we have anywhere from 2/3 to 90% of the pre-transfer level courses being taught by adjuncts. And I know one of the challenges that we have in California is that an adjunct might be hired, like I was hired the first time, the Friday before the class started Monday morning. And now more and more adjuncts are being hired for online courses, and they're being, say, oh, we have a class for you, it's online. And the faculty members, of course, need a job and want a job. And like, no problem, no problem. So what we did was we designed this course shell that would help adjuncts as well. Okay. So if you search CCC, OEI, OER, and I added the math one so that the math will come up to the top, there are 11 shells that will show up. 10 of them have OpenStax card covers on them. And you'll see in this case, the one in the top right is our sample shell. So I'm going to go through both, what the card covers are and what the sample shells are. And by the way, I also want to tell you, for those of you who do not have a Canvas account, you can make a free Canvas account. Just like with My Open Math, you can make a free Canvas account if you have an EDU. And then you can import one of these shells and look at it that way. If you have a Canvas account and you're teaching, let's say, elementary algebra, the one on the top left, I warn you not to import the shell over your current elementary algebra. The way that Canvas works is that if you import a course, it replaces everything that is in your previous course. So what you need to do is make a separate shell, a shell in your sandbox, and then import into that in order to see everything. What I've been helping faculty who are using Blackboard or D2L or Moodle is it's very easy if you have two screens, and you have two screens set up, and then you have the Canvas course set up here and your course over here, and it's an easy cut and paste for doing that. Okay. So here's some more that they have. And so here's an example of the calculus one. We open up.
Before you move on, there is a question about score.
No, I mean, they may be by accident, but not on purpose. Thank you, Kyra. That was not something that we were required to use in California community colleges for our online parts. We were required to use the rubric that was developed by faculty across the state. And this rubric, they're all so similar. If you look at Quality Matters, if you look at the SUNY rubrics, if you look at some of the other ones, they're all pretty similar. So thank you for asking, and John, thanks for reminding, saying it. Okay, what we did was we have, this is what I call the friendly homepage. Everything that's in green is a message to an instructor. So it tells you where to do something. Everything in yellow is something that you might want to edit or delete totally. You might decide you don't want a welcome message to your students. And if you don't want a welcome message, and in fact, this is why we now have two home screens. This one is the friendly one, and the other one just says faculty name, email address, office hours. Because a faculty member said to me, I'm here to teach, not do all this fluffy foo-foo stuff. And so I don't want all of this. So we developed two home pages. But here's the happy one or the friendly one, and you put whatever you want in here. If you don't want to change anything and you like your students calling you Barbara or Dr. Olowski, you can leave that too, but you might want to change it. The course overview, the about your teacher, and the learning modules are actually active links where you go to those three things. For the course descriptors, what we did was California has something called CID, Course ID, and this is the course descriptors, the student learning outcome, and the course content, and it's agreed upon within the three systems, only for the transfer levels. So where we had this, we included it. What other people have done is they've said, oh, I'm going to take out the course description that you have, and I'm going to put in what's in my college catalog, which is what I would recommend actually. You put in, but we included this so people would know to include it. We included the student learning outcomes that come from the CID agreement because in California, we're required to include student learning outcomes on our syllabi. Faculty are supposed to know that. Adjuncts who are hired are told this, but they may not even know what the SLOs are or where to find them on their campus or where they are. And so we've included the student learning outcomes that were the agreed upon ones. Again, as a faculty member and you go in, you would eliminate the green and you would redo the yellow before you publish. The other part that is down there is course content. So here's the landing page where you would come in. The welcome, that's the top one, is the happy, friendly, welcoming one, where I want my students to smile. The other one is the straightforward, here's my name, my office hour, my email. And then we are hoping that faculty will do what we hope our students do. And we're hoping that by writing read this first, we're hoping that faculty will read that part first, because we have a lot of information for faculty in there. How to use the shell, what to do if you already have course content, other information, information on the textbook. Now, again, because I guess this is a little selfish, because I record a welcome video for my students, we included how to record your welcome video. I want to ask you one question here. I am babysitting my granddaughter, and I just want to know if you hear the crying in the background, because if you do, I'll pick her up, and if you don't, I'll leave her. Yes, okay, sorry. Let me just, John, you want to do a commercial for 1 minute on Amatic and the upcoming conference?
I'm sure that there's a lot of things I can say. I can introduce Pat, because this might actually be one of my last webinars here, because Pat Riley is the new webinar coordinator. So maybe you can say a word about yourself, Pat, instead of me doing the commercial.
Okay, thanks, John. That was sneaky of you. Hi, everybody. My name's Pat Riley. I was just named the webinar coordinator a few weeks ago. John has been helping me learn the basics, so in the very near future, I'll be doing what he's doing now, and hope it continues to go as well as it has been.
Thanks, Pat. Thanks, John, for that. I'm delighted to just show off my little 3-month-old Lily right here, who's very sweet and is our youngest Amatic webinar attendee. So, for example, I record videos for my students that say, hi, I'm Barbara, part of the whole friendly part. And I go through, in the video, I also go through the Canvas shell and what each of the buttons mean. But, so I put that, and in that, we have how do you caption the videos, because people may not think about captioning them, and it's a lot easier to caption them at the beginning than to go back and do it. Then there's information for students about your instructor, how you look up and you find information, how to be successful in the course. Updating the Canvas profile takes you back to Instructure, where that's for them on how do you update a Canvas profile so it comes with all of your Canvas accounts now. They love the textbook stuff, because when they get to the textbook page, it says, your textbook is free. Do not buy one unless you really want a hard copy. But these are other things. part of the other things that we've done is under student support, for example, we have put a message to the faculty member as to put in the URL of your bookstore here, put in the URL of your tutorial center, put in the URL of your DSPS, and maybe places don't even know that they have a DSPS. So we do a lot of information. I also want to tell you that some instructional designers for the college have taken this shell, and what they've done is they've customized it for their college. So they put in the tutorial center link, the bookstore link, the DSPS link, the link to the SLOs, and so on, and then they shoot it out to their faculty. And then here comes, this is the OpenStax book, the chapter readings, and so on, you'll see, and it comes directly in. Now I want to point out a few things. One is you could get the book, and you could go online to get the book, or you could read it online. You could also read the book inside the Canvas one-stop shop of having it embedded in the shell. And anytime there's a newer edition, and OpenStax tends to put in errata and change it, or anytime once a year when they do updates, if you click on the newer version, it automatically comes directly into the course shell. So Joseph, you can get a copy of the webinar from John. He's going to be saying afterwards how to do it. So here's an example. Here's the OpenStax shell, and the OpenStax review of functions that's in there, and you can see it fits right into the modules. I wanted you to see how it looks inside Canvas when it's right inside there. Now, I'm going to show you another one, and this one is the statistics one, and I want to show you this because I want to show you how another colleague modified it. So the sample for what we put out in the shell has the course descriptor from the statewide, California statewide course descriptor, and if you're in California, you could use this. If you're outside, just copy and paste what's in your own course catalog. It has our student learning outcomes and our course content. So this is the shell that we made. A faculty member teaching out of the same book and using the course shells modified it at Santa Rosa. So you can see how she did it. She modified it this way. She included the course description, but what she did was, instead of including the SLOs directly into the course syllabus, she actually pointed to the place on the Santa Rosa website. So she would have a cleaner one. You could also see that this is for a face-to-face section as well. So at my college, we're required to have the SLOs directly on our course syllabus. At her college, pointing to the URL was considered acceptable. Before I go on, I just want to find out if there are any questions right here. Okay, I'll keep looking. Here are some adaptions that people have done. They've replaced the PowerPoints with ones that they used. And also, we did not include all the PowerPoints because they were not accessible. So we showed where you can get them, and they could put them up if they want. Some faculty are embedding the MyOpenMath homework system into it, as I told you before. Some people are using a different test bank. They've put it in. They've customized the shells the way Jennifer at Santa Rosa customized what you saw before. And then we have instructional designers who are starting with the shells. So at Cabrillo College, Aloha Sargent takes the shells for every text, and she puts the Cabrillo logo, she fills everything in, and then she sends it to the faculty. And then this is the empty one. So what it has is it has a place for you to put your course description, a place for you to do whatever else. If you're teaching linear algebra or differential equations, you could put those in directly, or another course that you want to do. The rest of the part are on giving you some URLs that I think are really beneficial URLs for finding materials. All of these are active links, except that we're it's in a PowerPoint here. When John posts the PowerPoints, they're all active links. On the other hand, they're all the name of the website. So it's openstax.org, coolfored.org. Open Textbook Library is out of University of Minnesota, and that includes upper division ones. And CK12 I included. It's a K through 12 repository. It has a lot of simulations, and some of the simulations for the junior senior courses are really interesting, and I like them, so you might want to put them in. And then the largest repository is oercommons.org, and you can search there. You can go into hubs, you can go into the OpenStax if you're using an OpenStax book and find out what everybody who's using OpenStax has added. In fact, even from my own stats book, we added a section of several labs that are interactive and use a Google Sheet instead of a graphing calculator. And they were good for online points. So let's see, Kyra. So if you go into Canvas Commons, Kyra posted that she's having trouble finding the course shells online. You go into Canvas Commons, and then you put in under search, CCC for California Community Colleges, OER for Open Ed Resources, OEI, and Math. You don't have to put all 4 of those in, but that'll be the fastest way to get them. So these are sites that I consider really valuable. Some other sites where you can get more information is the Open Ed Consortium. That's an international organization. And also the Community College Consortium for Open Ed Resources. I would really recommend you you search in there, that you look on that website. And I was, of course, trying to do 3 things at once. So Kara, you don't have to put the comma in there, and it doesn't matter what's caps or not. I put in the chat what to search for again, but you don't have to put the comma. It doesn't matter on the capital. But CCC OER has a lot of examples and case studies that we have. And then the California Virtual Campus, we developed a set of OER web pages on this. But mostly what I find is that because there are so many of you who really know a lot about OER already, the most common thing that people want is they want to tell me, where can I go find OER? And so I'm going to find the OER. I know. Going to find the OER. I would recommend OpenStax, certainly, for math, because it has from pre-algebra through calculus. I would recommend Cool for Ed going in there. The Open Textbook Library, I don't think has any pre-transfer level math. So if you want to go for pre-transfer level math, OpenStax, OER Commons, Open Oregon, Open Washington, they have a lot of the pre-transfer level materials. Okay, also I want to let you know that I am happy to answer questions now. I do post on Twitter sometimes, but almost exclusively on OER, or when I'm going to conferences like Amatic, posting up on those. I'm on LinkedIn, and even though I'm retiring from my district, our perk that we get for life is that we get parking permits to park on campus, and we get to keep our URL. And let me think, well, John's talking. I'm going to take off my screen and I'll look. The question said, how do you get the free Canvas account? And I'll stop sharing so that, John, you can go on what you need, and I'll look for the free Canvas account, okay?
Sure, that works for me. So let's see. I did a search and I put in the chat what I searched for, and it seemed to work for me. So for finding all of those, but let's see. Let me try to go back here and find my slides here. So if you have any questions for Barbara, feel free to continue to put them in the chat. But thank you for participating in today's AMATIC webinar. And if you'd like to support future AMATIC webinars, please consider becoming a member of AMATIC at bit.ly/join-AMATIC. And please remember to like AMATIC on Facebook at facebook.com/amatic. And recordings of past AMATIC webinars can be found at bit.ly/amatic-webinars, and that includes today's webinar, which I will have the recording up there hopefully before the end of the week. And if you could please take 2 minutes to evaluate the webinar content and our presenter today, that would be great at bit.ly/ I'm amatic81. I think that, yeah, that's the right one. You know what? I made a few slides out of order, so I do know that that's the link for the survey. So if you need an email confirmation of your participation in today's webinar, please fill in the optional section at the end of the evaluation. So again,
and I really, I just would like to say a couple words. I really appreciate, John, your help, and Pat, yours as well. Thank you. I'm very appreciative of it. To everybody else, I appreciate your understanding. I hope that I had when my granddaughter decided that she wanted a bit of attention here. And I would encourage you to go to the AMATIC conference as well, because each year, because there are a lot of sessions on OER, and I learn a lot from learning what other people have. And I just want to thank you all, and feel free to email me or connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to, I love talking about OER and how we can improve student success.
so yeah, I absolutely enjoyed today's webinar also, and I see there was a question from Stacy about getting the actual Canvas account, and you know what, I will say that I'm going to put in the link that I actually think that worked for me here, so that if you aren't using Canvas, you should be able to go to that link and get started for free with Canvas as a teacher, according to what popped up on my screen. So it might not be. I
was able to do it right now. I looked, and I
okay.
Sign and register, and I got a new window that